Hi everyone, I'm Sofia and I work on data architecture and machine learning with AMOREVINO.
Hi everyone, my name is Tillmann. I'm the co-founder of AMOREVINO and responsible for the business strategy. AMOREVINO is a social commerce platform for the wine industry. We enable vendors to build long-lasting relationships with their customers through wine clubs. So today we are very happy to share some of our learnings that we were able to produce with user tests on implementing auth into our app. So why do authentication in the first place? Authentication can be a very powerful tool if it assists your business. We went back and asked ourselves 3 questions in order to answer if auth is necessary for us or not. The first question is acquisition versus retention. Are we an app or are we a business that is looking for a one-time purchase, for one transaction, a drive-by sort of conversion, or are we looking for multiple conversions or multiple transactions over an extended period of time? The second question we had to answer ourselves is the sensitive information part. What data are we dealing with? That might be your shipping address or your paying credentials, which are pretty sensitive. And the third question is nominal versus extended purchasing decisions. If your service or product is very nominal, so if it's very easy, maybe it's not that necessary to provide some data to help the customer in the journey through the purchase. Whereas if it's an extended purchase, or the journey is a bit longer, or if the service or the product is a bit complex, you might want to have some data. That can be first-party data, third-party data, or even historical data. So we had an easy answer to those questions. For us, auth had a great impact. It's especially when it came to retention and the customer lifetime. Auth also enabled us to introduce the consumer of one. Consumer of one for us is about personalization. It is about having a product experience for each and every one, just for them. So in order to achieve this, we had to take a look at auth from a different angle, from a different viewpoint. It's not login for us, it's an identity. It's an identity with patterns, with properties, with preferences, with attributes. And we learned through our testing that a consumer is really willing to enrich his identity or his profile if he gets utility, if he gets a benefit for it. Of course, auth is portable. You bring your identity with you, you bring it along, you take it out. And it really helped us to, also help in the recommendation system, because you want to support your customer with some kind of smart advice. And here's an example of how it might look, not implementing auth. So this is anonymous, this is checkout as a guest. It is a recommendation based on others' people purchases. There's some meaning to it because those transactions actually happened. But I mean, they're not based on your preferences, right? So not sure if they fit. The second example is using auth. It looks at the historical data. It shows you a recommendation about a wine you might want to buy based on a past purchase. So this is like one of the many examples how authentication helps you or helped us in our app. And all it took was to really understand authentication rather as a person, as an identity, as attributes, as preferences, and as properties, instead of just a session or a login.
Okay. So speaking about authentication, we cannot avoid dealing with the topic of friction. During the entire development of our application, we always kept in mind that we want to add the right amount of friction in order to remove the bad one. Because what we understood is that friction is not always a bad thing. And we don't have to reduce it entirely in order to maximize our conversion rates. So we started utilizing friction in a very intentional way in order to create the best user experience. Additionally to recommendations, our application offers a variety of different services, and each of those services has different authentication needs. We can start off with the consumers simply wanting to browse some public profiles or public wine reviews or product information, but it can go up also to an actual transaction. For example, when users decide to join a wine club or decides to make purchases on our website. Both scenarios has to fulfill certain authentication needs. And if we were to ask our users to undergo a very extensive authentication process, also when they're signing up, well, this would turn out to feel very heavy and very tedious, and it wouldn't guarantee a smooth and seamless authentication flow, what we are looking for. And this, unfortunately, has resulted for us in a lot of abandoned sign-up flows. Therefore, we decided to integrate, on the contrary, a purpose-based authentication flow that prompts the users to extend their authentication based on the action they want to take. This has helped us improve our sign-up rates by being very lightweight, our content safety, and of course, the amount of fully qualified identities all over our services. What we want is to make sure that users are always aware of the purposes of each authentication step they're going through, and they know how this impacts their security while interacting with our product. And when user interacts with our product, goes through different phases. We can summarize them in 4. The first phase is consume. Users want to view some profile-related information, some wine reviews on the internet. In this phase, they just have to set up some credentials, meaning password or email. And on the other side, we would reward them with the access to the entire application content. The second phase is create. Create on our platform. This encompasses the general user-generated content. In this phase, users also have to verify their identifiers, like SMS or email, and they would be allowed to create content on our application. Meaning, for example, populate their digital wine cellars or post a wine review and share their perception with other members of the community. The third phase is engage. This is when users start engaging in the application, meaning following private profiles or enabling private messages by other users. In this phase, we would ask the users additionally to secure their accounts with a second factor. For instance, an SMS or a one-time password or biometrics. And the last phase is transform and transact. This is when users add and access some sensitive data, for example, their payment information or their shipping addresses. In this phase, they have to re-authenticate in order to establish a privileged session that can last, for example, 10 minutes. All this has enabled an accelerated checkout. Yeah, and this is how it would look like. You just authenticate with your fingerprint, and the checkout is automatically pre-populated with your payment and shipping information. So on the whole, for us, the entire authentication experience has to fulfill three important requirements. It has to be minimal, purposeful, and ergonomic. Minimal because we don't want to ask the users for more than what we actually need. Purposeful because we always make sure that users know why we need certain information and how many benefits this could have. And ergonomic because we decided to use tools we know our community, our audience is very familiar with. That's why we are using right now native biometrics, like device native biometrics. For instance, fingerprint or Face ID, because we know they are really intuitive and very habitual for our users. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, then. Have a great day. Thank you so much.